Finally, someone has done the unthinkable. What no company has ever dared to do: make a knockoff Pokemon game. So, if you're unfamiliar with Temtem, it's an online, like MMO, JRPG, Pokemon like. It takes very heavy inspiration from the Pokemon games, especially the ones prior to like Sword and Shield. I've had my eye on Temtem for probably about 4 years. I was a Kickstarter backer. Um, the idea of it was really interesting to me, and I think I only gave like $30 or something like that. So I've been familiar with the game and kept up with it for a long time. I haven't beat Temtem, so this isn't like a review. This is just kind of like I just wanted to make a video about my thoughts on the game because it just launched into like 1.0, like out of early access, maybe about a month ago, maybe a little over a month now. I'd say I'm probably like halfway to 2/3 done with the main campaign of the game. And of course, have not touched any of the end game content because I'm not at the end game yet. All right, let's start with what I like about Temtem, which there is a lot. I'd say the number one thing that sets Temtem apart from Pokemon is the like stamina or SP system in the game. So each like attack or move you select has like a predefined like number, and when you use that like ability or move, it takes away from your SP bar or stamina bar. So because of that, it kind of makes the game a lot more tactical because you can't just go and spam your best move every single time because when you use up your whole bar, it starts to take away health. And if you use up your bar, normally with like a specific move or something like that, you can like overexert yourself and basically like forfeit your next turn. As a result, it just makes the battles a lot more thought provoking, a lot more challenging. You don't just fly through every battle spamming hyper beam or a fire blast or something like that in Pokemon. The second thing kind of goes hand in hand with the SP bar. Um, there's no RNG in Temtem. The game is like there's no critical hits or anything like that, like there is in Pokemon. So it's really just down to knowing your ability and managing your team better than either like the computer or another player. So like instead of there being RNG, like type matchups are like huge in the game. Like you really have to take advantage of your type matchup. Like if I'm a water type and I try to attack a grass type or a natural type in Temtem, it doesn't really do that much damage even if I am like 10 levels higher than them. It's like even with the level disparity, you still have to really use that type advantage. All right, the third and last thing that I'm going to talk about, I could probably name more, but I mean, this is a pretty big one, kind of broad. There's a lot of quality of life additions in this game that is often requested in Pokemon and normally neglected, or a corner is cut, or just straight up not included. Just to name a few, your Tems or Temtems follow you around in the game. You have the ability to purchase and decorate a house. Haven't gotten to that part yet. That seems more like in game. I've also heard like the economy in the game is kind of like scuffed a little bit, so I don't know how like easy it is to get into that without having to like put in a lot of money or a lot of time. And then also, this is a big one that I'm excited for. Haven't gotten there yet, of course, but I've heard there's a battle frontier at the end of the game, which like I mean there hasn't been a battle frontier in a Pokemon game since what? Soul Silver and Heart Gold, like a decade ago. So that's pretty exciting that that's in the game. Again, there's probably more things I could touch on that I actually really like about the game. But these were kind of like the main ones that stuck out to me, that really made it set itself apart from Pokemon. That being said, let's dive into the things that I don't like, because there are some things that could use a lot of improvement to make this game, maybe have wider appeal or to just be a better game in general. All right, I've got to say it. The first one is the catchphrase of the game. I absolutely despise the catchphrase in this game. The catchphrase is Temtem up, and boy, do they remind you of that catchphrase throughout the game and almost every single conversation you have with the trainer battle. So not only is it said by the people you talk to, there's also dialogue options in the game, which I could talk about that and how I don't like it. That is so frequently a dialogue option. It's like you'll say like 4 things just to get into the battle, and the last one, you almost always have the option to say Temtem up. Like, why? Like, why do I have to keep saying this? Like, please make it stop. Please. So while I'm talking about dialogue options, it probably is a natural progression to talk about like the story of the game. The story is definitely a lot less like cheesy and like a little more mature than Pokemon. But it's still not good. I still don't like it. There's just like way too much text. Like there's way too much text to the point where like I will just spam the skip text button after a while because like it's just so much. It's just so much and it's so uninteresting. I definitely appreciate that the story isn't directly and solely geared towards children, but yeah, I mean the story still just feels like a huge swing and a miss to me. Like the world itself is great. Some aspects of the storyline is great, but the execution is just like I think it needs to be reworked in a lot of ways. I think especially dialogue options just probably should not really be much of a thing. And if it is, it should only be occasionally and not like every single conversation you have with somebody. Like maybe it should only be for quest lines. It certainly should not be a thing for, trainer battles like on a route or like in an area outside of a town. Another thing that I don't love about the game is it's kind of a trade off with the increased difficulty of Temtem compared to Pokemon. I feel like you're constantly having to run back to the Temporium, which is this game's Pokemon Center. It's like every battle or two. It's like, okay, well, now I got to go run back and heal back up. The game does give you something called the Tim Essence file, which is like when you're outside of a battle, you can use it whenever you want. It just reheals all of your Tems. It's a one-use thing though, so after you use it one time, the only way to reset it is to go back to the Temporium and like use the machine to reheal yourself. So I do like that that is something you can use in the game. Kind of mitigates the need to go back a little bit, but I still find myself like constantly having to go back, and it just makes the game take longer than it should because it's like, yeah, the game's more difficult, but then you can like beat a battle and it's like, okay, well, I know that the in-game economy like sucks and people have told me on like streams and stuff like don't spend a lot of money. So it's like I don't want to use like the balms, which are potions. So I don't know. You're just kind of screwed and it's like just a waste of time after a while. I think this one could actually be adjusted fairly easily. I know one thing that Pokemon has done is a lot of times after you beat like a big trainer battle, they'll like just reheal your Pokemon for you. So it'd be nice if they did something like that in this game. Of course, they just seem to never do that. It's like you'll go through an entire dungeon and get to the end of it, and then they just like leave you. And it's like, okay, can you like please reheal me? Because I'm so far, like I either have to use the smoke bomb, which is an escape rope equivalent, to get back to the Temporium, or I don't know. It's like I just do the wild battles, which are not always that easy with like a party of Temtems that are just dead. So I don't know. I feel like they could adjust that and make that one a lot better without that much work, but we'll see. I don't know if that's going to change. The last thing that has kind of been a problem, and this is, I've only experienced this exclusively on the Switch version. I do have the game on Steam. That was what I got as like a backers reward. And then I bought a physical version because I like to collect games. The Switch version, there's definitely a few bugs here and there. They've fixed some already, but there's definitely some performance problems. And I don't know if it's as a result of server issues or if it's just the game, because sometimes you'll play the game and you'll be in an area and it'll run like smooth. It'll be like totally good. And then you'll come back later and it's like you're playing at like 15 FPS instead of 30 FPS, which is like manageable in a game like this, but it's just not ideal. And again, it might just be a server problem. I never in early access, I played the game some, I never in early access had a problem on Steam. I never had really any technical problems. It's really just been the Switch version has had a few bugs, and the performance is a little hit or miss. I feel like there's a lot of potential there for Temtem. I like the game quite a bit. I'm definitely going to finish it. I think that it does a lot of things that I wish Pokemon did. It definitely has a lot of things that needs to be fixed though, or like tweaked. I will say I'm a little nervous about the future of Temtem, uh, just based off of what the developers have said. They're not planning on adding any more areas or any more Temtems to the game, which for an MMO is surprising. You would think that would be one of the main draws. I think that they're keeping their options open still. I don't know if the game maybe just hasn't been as successful as they wanted and they might want to move on to something else. I would hope that they would release an expansion with new Temtems and new like locations. Like, I mean, that seems like what would be the majority of the updates. I feel like if not, the game's just gonna die. So I hope they do that. Um, I don't really want the game to die. I like the game and I could see myself coming back to it, even if I don't get like that into the end game content. Um, I don't know. Again, this wasn't like a review or anything. Maybe I'll do that after I beat the game, do some in-game content. I'm not sure. I might just not. I might make a second video, maybe about like a wish list, like a Temtem wish list. Overall, I do recommend the game. You know, if you're not that into the JRPG, Pokemon style games, and you like kind of like it, you can maybe get it when it's on sale or something like that. But overall, pretty good game. All right, I'm gonna end the video there. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Have a good day. Peace.